Before we begin today, I'd like to present to you a recreation of my earliest moments with today's featured game. I'm moving, or can I jump? Oh, that's a net and a sword. I don't think this game is, Now, I don't remember hating Ape Escape or anything. I just remember being confused as to why I couldn't get any kind of reaction out of the thing. Apparently, Indentum was illiterate as a child, and apparently, you can call me Dan if you prefer. To get you all up to speed, Ape Escape is one of the earliest PlayStation games that required a dual analog controller in order to play. Otherwise, something like what I demonstrated would happen. Here's the first thing Ape Escape shows you. Again, a very dim child. Ape Escape was developed by Sony Computer Entertainment Japan. So that's an in-house developed game which takes advantage of the dual analog controller. Nintendo beat Sony to the market with the Nintendo 64 Rumble Pack, but Sony were the first of the big three to support dual analog stick controllers. They proved practical and thus became commonplace within the game industry. Enough monkeying around, here's Ape Escape. Also, I'll bring up Star Fox Zero in a bit, so just bear with me. The opening cinematic begins with this white monkey contemplating what to do with an odd-looking helmet. We get a eureka moment as White Monkey learns. Hat goes on head. Did you expect delight? Excitement? Far from it. With newly granted knowledge comes a deeply sinister plan. The White Monkey leads a revolt alongside his chimp brethren. They break out of captivity and set their sights on the Professor's lab. Starting up a new game, we see two young boys named Spike and Buzz making their way to the Professor's lab to witness his newest invention in action.
Hey, Spike! Do you think the Professor finished his time machine?
He said he's almost done.
They also grace us with the game's European English dub. Not sure about you, but I can't understand the 4 million cartoons of my childhood dubbed by Americans. This was completely necessary. Upon arrival, the Professor and his apprentice have been tied up by the rampant monkeys, with the albino monkey named Spectre at the forefront of the raid.
No, run you two.
Yeah, that one will work. Before Spike and Buzz can get the gum off of their shoes, one of the apes activates the Professor's newest invention, which begins to morph the very fabric of space around them. Spike and Buzz get caught up in the chaos of the machine when suddenly... gone in the blink of an eye, with the Professor and his apprentice flabbergasted by what they bared witness to. By the way, the Professor is just called the Professor, who is assisted by...
We did it, Katie! The time machine is completed.
This isn't the time for that.
Oh, it's Katie. Oh! Spike, Buzz, and the apes have been scattered across different time periods, and you need to capture all the monkeys and their leader Spectre before they mess with the cycle of history. This game's premise already separates Ape Escape from platformers around at the time and platformers in recent years. Okay, so let's jump right into gameplay. Now that we've got these two analog sticks on this controller, we can adjust the camera, right? Oh, how naive we were during the waking moments of 3D games. You actually use the directional buttons to manually adjust the camera, while L1 will focus directly behind Spike. There you go, we've already encountered our design element to talk about, Ape Escape and its notoriously unusual control scheme. I'm gonna need to illustrate my controller inputs since there's no easy way to demonstrate how the game reacts to your inputs besides simply showing you. Say hello to Spike, and now say hello to the PlayStation DualShock controller with its double sticks complete with vibration function. That's SD Rumble. The left analog will move Spike around the world, just as you would expect. Tilting the stick slightly will allow Spike to walk and even creep. In a game themed around catching monkeys, this comes in use since the apes have a radius of detection, which may be triggered as you approach them. Some of them are more alert than others too. Those analog sticks also function as buttons, namely L3 and R3. If you press and hold down L3, Spike will crouch, and you can crawl towards your target. But if your intended target is patrolling and looks your way, you can press and hold R3 to curl up to erase yourself from vision. Face buttons, these buttons right here, are used to switch between your equipment. From the start, you have the sword club and the net. Now this is where that all-important right analog stick comes into play. Tilting the right stick will use the gadget that you're currently welding, as well as reading which way you push the right stick. You push forward, Spike will swing forward. Push to the left, he will swing to his left. Spin the stick and he will swing and spin his net around. That one is particularly useful to bear in mind in case you miss by a small margin. You have that brief moment to correct yourself and claim victory. The direction you operate your gadgets in will adjust depending on your viewpoint, so there's no need to wrap your head around Spike's actual perspective. I say operate gadgets instead of swing the net because you use them all in the exact same manner. It sounds strange, but once you've got the controller in your hands, it just makes sense. Some monkeys will react differently once they've detected you. Some will run away, while others may be more aggressive, possibly even equipped with weaponry to ward you off. What do you do about this? Well, Spike also has access to a sword club, which you can equip with the face buttons and use R3 in the exact same way. As you progress through the game, you'll acquire extra gadgets to platform, combat, and capture apes. Now I know some of you may be thinking that this just overcomplicates the process of using your gadgets, but this is where I will step in to say it lends itself to the kind of game it is. It challenges you through exploration and mastering your gadgets rather than difficult platforming alone. Think of it like Metal Gear Solid. Sure, there aren't anywhere near as differing values and moving parts which can ultimately lead to blowing your cover. It's a series of games that demand a lot more thought and patience in how you approach a particular situation. Of course, in Ape Escape, this rounds down to how should I approach this ape and catch the blighter efficiently. It feels good to catch apes in one clean swoop without the hassle, just the same as how it feels really good to slip past security undetected in Metal Gear Solid. Even if sections of platforming demand you to perform some more finesse timing with the use of your gadgets, Ape Escape gives you plenty of elbow room to approach each challenge comfortably. What I'm saying is the camera hasn't been a problem for me because the environments aren't cramped. Now, if you want to talk about intrusive control schemes, then you only need to look to Star Fox Zero. Never has a Nintendo game received such a mixed reception than Star Fox Zero. So you know that thing that Nintendo have always got right? The controls? As for myself, I definitely felt the strange disconnect between using the two screens with entirely different perspectives. If a boss has entered the area, the TV will remain focused on them regardless of which direction the R-Wing is facing, while the gamepad will show the perspective of the R-Wing itself. You can gradually turn, ascend, and descend with the left stick. You can boost, brake, and bank with the right stick. Meanwhile, the motion controls allow for precision firing from the cockpit view on the gamepad. Fun fact everyone, while I was writing this section of the script, I forgot exactly how the controls worked. That was within half an hour of playing the game. For the first time, sure, but that still shouldn't be happening. That's how obtuse and disconnected it feels. You can't explain them without having to remind yourself. Nintendo challenged conventions, and it required a harmony of interactions. I wouldn't say the game is unplayable per se, but instead it demands you to wrap yourself around its finger. Ape Escape provides you the time and facility to adapt to its controls, and they only experimented with one component, and it's infinitely easier to adapt to than Star Fox Zero. Also, it was a brand new IP in 1999, and not another remake of a game from an already established franchise. At the end of it all, both of these games have unique control schemes, but as far as I'm concerned, only one of them was beneficial. Ape Escape's controls are versatile, while Star Fox Zero's controls demand you to learn how to accomplish the basics all over again. Until then, you will be prohibited until you learn to adapt or give up. For a design section on Ape Escape, I didn't catch too many apes, and instead spoke about how you interface with the game itself. Hope you got your fix anyway. Seems kind of a weird episode because I crammed Star Fox into the mix. I mean, I think it was still relevant. Please do consider leaving any comments, likes, subscribing, or perhaps sharing this video about, but whatever you feel like doing is fine. I'm also on Twitter if that's more your thing. There's a link in the description and on the channel page. As for what's next, I'll have to leave that as a blank because there might be a change of plans, but you can keep up to date on Twitter if you wish to know more in advance. Alright, I've had enough now. I'll leave you to it. Bye.